All right, guys, before we get into the specific forbidden techniques, I want us to understand that the guiding principle that we should be using when we're training with our training partner is that it should be on control of a position versus attempting to apply braking pressure or injure our training partner. So even if I have an arm bar, the focus isn't trying to break Dustin's arm. The focus is trying to have such control of Dustin's arm that he can't escape, and I could have broken it however many times I want in any given period. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up. Like you're so focused on, and that's when people get hurt too. You're so focused on, oh, I'm in this position, he's not tapping, I must be doing something wrong. I'm just going to go harder with it, and then you hyperextend an arm or you twist a leg or whatever, and now injuries happen. So let's look at some basic ideas here that will help you and kind of guide you through your training. All right, guys, so this next one we're going to do is just some submission guidelines, and this goes for any submission, any position, anything like that. Let's just do an arm bar. If I have Dustin's arm extended, right, so I'm in a good position, and I've got his arm extended, I should not be trying to add hyperextension pressure to this. My goal should be able to keep this in an extended position for 3 to 5 seconds. If he doesn't tap within that time, even so, let's say he's trying to get out and can't, okay, and he's struggling and he can't get out. If he doesn't tap in that 3 to 5 seconds, I'm just letting go and moving on. All right? Why? Because I don't want to injure my training partner. That is not your goal. All right? So if he's struggling, meaning he's trying valid escapes and can't get out, it means you did a good job. You have the position. He's just not smart enough to tap. Which brings us to the other side of that. If someone has you in a position, he's got me, right? I'm here, I'm struggling, I'm trying to get out, I cannot. At some point, I need to realize, you got me, and just tap. Jiu-Jitsu is much more about the trap and getting the position than it is about trying to hurt your training partners. Take care of your training partners when you're training and that you both know what you want there. But general rule, if it's extended, it's time to tap. All right, guys, this next one is going to seem weird, but it's really like how to properly observe class. Sometimes for whatever reason you're not able to train, or maybe you're just watching people train or whatever. I've talked to Pedro Sauer, and he's really big on, like, this is when he sees a lot of weird injuries happen that shouldn't happen, and it often comes from something like this. Maybe somebody's training somewhere on this mat, and Dustin and I are just chilling. Maybe we just got done with a roll, and we're just like chilling like this, talking to each other, and then we're not paying attention to what's going on around us, which is rule number one. Know what's going on around you. And then someone just rolls right into the back of this elbow. Or even worse, look how he's sitting. Like, maybe these guys are doing takedowns over here, and they're not paying attention, and they fall into him, and now his knee gets all torn up, right? Like, so understanding that, like, you're in danger. You're in a danger zone where people are training, and if you're not actively training, get out of the way should be your number one rule. Avoid sitting like with an arm behind you or like this or whatever. Pedro's favorite way to see people sit is either like you see me now, or he even actually prefers this right here, because now you have like actual frames. Like if you think about someone was trying to pass your guard, like this is an actual framed up position, and so you're able to defend yourself from there if you see people coming at you. But most importantly, get the hell off the mat. What are you doing? Like, stop sitting directly in the middle of the mat when you're doing it. Either get all the way to the side to an edge so that your back is against the wall and no one's going to accidentally roll into your back, or get on the benches. We have benches and chairs in every room. Get off the mat when you're not training. That is probably the best safety thing we can give you for that scenario. All right, guys, this is a video I thought had already been filmed, that I already filmed it, and apparently I'm crazy because I couldn't find it anywhere. So I wanted to make sure that we had all this on video. These are also found on the walls in every room, but it's our safety guidelines as far as legal techniques, forbidden techniques, and kind of like when you can do them. Many of them are forbidden for various different reasons, and I'll explain them as we go along. But let's start with the first technique. And the first technique is jumping to guard. That does not mean like I sit to my butt and pull or something like that. It means you literally leave your feet to go to guard. And it looks something like this. He might be here, he hops in, and locks guard like that. Just like this, if everything was stagnant, that's not a problem. The problem is everything isn't stagnant, and when you see that coming, a lot of times you tend to back off, leaving your leg very vulnerable. Now you have, and you're going to hear this over and over again, uncontrollable falling body weight onto a limb, which is not going to end well. Go into YouTube, type bad guard jump, and you're going to find plenty of videos that show people not walking after tournaments or whatever. So, no jumping guard. All right, guys, the next one is the leg scissor. It's called kanebasami in judo. It is banned almost everywhere in every like combat sport. As far as, I should say, like in judo it's banned, and in most jiu-jitsu tournaments it's also banned, except for in like the highest level divisions. The only difference there, you're going to see like an ADCC, they still do it. What that looks like, I'm just going to have you stand very sideways. Yep. Like a lot of times the problem is that people will like jump into it and all their weight is coming into a knee. That's no good. If I do it in a very controlled fashion where I put my hand to the ground first, come in, then it's safer. But again, the problem is you get excited, you're moving a lot, you blow out someone's knee with this same term we're going to hear over and over again, uncontrolled falling body weight. So I don't care if you are good at it and you control it really well and all that, don't do it. There's plenty of other opportunities and other ways to take people down from there. Sakui Nage is right there if you're in that situation. Just a forward rolling oguruma is there, and these all have like the same type of ending to them without the danger to your training partner's knee. All right, guys, the next one that we're going to talk about is any type of jumping submission. And I'm not going to jump on or expect Dustin to jump on me. But anything where like we're tied up and both my feet leave the ground for the purpose of trying to submit Dustin. Okay, that's not the same as sitting to the ground. So if we're here and I just, I get good grips and I decide to say like circle and maybe I post into his hip and switch this into an arm bar, that's fine. That's good to go. You sat down. But if you jump into that, no good. Same thing, we're hearing it over and over again. Uncontrolled falling body weight, no good. It's just a recipe for disaster. If you hit the submission midair, he has no way to like tap because he's falling. You might fall on a knee, you might fall on your own head. There's a very famous video of a guy breaking his own neck trying to do a jumping armbar. It's just not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. You're better off just pulling guard in those scenarios and trying to do it a different way. All right, guys. The next one is one I've been guilty of for many, many years, and it's Tani Otoshi, or the sit-down throw with your head in front of your training partner. So, for years, we taught it this way. Dustin can tell you, we would be here, we'd be grabbing. Unfortunately, we didn't have any injuries because we were really careful with our foot placement. But the way Tani Otoshi looks is we're here, and I'm just driving my leg across, and you can see the propensity of my hips to drive into his knee as I do that, and then I'm trying to take him backwards. Now, we've always tried to make that safer by matching our front foot so our hips kind of slide behind. But what happens is when you get pummeling and you're trying to go for it, like you're here and you're just like, go, boom, and now knees bend the wrong way. Illegal to do with your head in front. Again, in judo, it's pretty much forbidden. If you go to a judo technique ban list and it's banned in judo, there's probably a good reason because those guys are dropping each other all over the place as hard as they can. So if it's banned there, there's a good reason for it. And this is the reason for the banning of Tani Otoshi, with the head in front. Now, let's turn this way. If I do the same move but bring my head behind him, now as I drive in, my hips float behind him and there's no danger to his knee. So that's really the only difference. If you're going to do Tani Otoshi, sit down throw, do it with your head behind your training partner. That's a great option, so try that, put your head behind your partner and then do it. If your head's in front, start doing forward throws. All right, guys, the last one we're going to talk about as far as standing techniques is a suplex. Any version of the suplex, whether it's belly to belly, belly to back, If you manage to go back to back, I'd be really impressed. But no suplexes, right? And that doesn't include like a true lateral drop. That doesn't mean that every time I do this, I'm doing a suplex. It literally means coming straight over, endangering your neck and your training partner's neck. No good. All right, guys, we've made it to the ground techniques. So we've talked about the forbidden, or at least very restricted standing list. So now on the ground, the first one is grabbing any single digit or two. You need to have at least 3 digits or more. I don't recommend grabbing fingers ever. It's really uncomfortable for a person, really unpleasant. It's different if like I'm hooking and like let's say he's behind me. Yeah, and maybe like just pull this out of the way. I'm hooking the fingers like this. I'm not grabbing a finger and closing my hand on it and pulling it away. I'm just hooked with like a hook grip, just kind of preventing them from moving. That's he can tell you there's no like pressure on his actual fingers here. But the minute like, I don't know, just get some generic grip, we're doing this and trying to like pull it away, you've got to have the wherewithal in what you're doing and be paying attention to your own actions. Because sometimes I'll see someone doing that and I'll be like, hey, no grabbing fingers, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing it. Guys, pay attention to what you're doing to another human being. Those aren't your hands you're grabbing. Don't pull each other's fingers. It's not very effective in fighting as much as you think it would be. I can tell you I've fought with broken fingers. People do it all the time, and it's just annoying. And you know, you guys got to go to work tomorrow. Type on a typewriter. Well, no one's typing on a typewriter, but on a computer. You know, like let people go to work. All right, guys. The next one we're doing is slamming your training partner. And anyway, like when you're throwing, it's a little different. A slam would be like intentionally increasing the height of the arc, or adding to that. Like, so if you're going into a double leg and like that double leg would naturally go here, and then you're like boom, and then stand up with it and like spike, that's definitely slamming. But probably the most common version of slamming that you see is from some form of guard, where like it might even be like as simple as like just coming here and trying to open him up. That's a slam. Now that's different than he tries for a sit-up sweep and I just put him forcefully back to the ground. It's different. If he sits up into a sit-up sweep and I just drive him straight back down, no problem. But if I then go and then slam him, that's a slam. All right? And you know there's a difference in what you're doing. You're adding force to the motion that's not required. So the next one is stepping across a closed guard. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize how dangerous this is. I had it done to me in a tournament once, and it really hurt my neck. It jacked me up bad. So the idea is like, man, this guard is locked. He has no way to kind of alleviate pressure. So we start just like coming up and either walking forward over it. You can see that this is putting pressure on his neck. And if I continue walking, that's really bad for him. Or stepping across it this way in a way that's going to like twist him oddly. You can see how that starts twisting him over his neck. I can't really demonstrate that, you know, in a safe way, but if you think about like WWE, WWF, however old you are to remember that, like that used to be what they do. They'd like roll them over and then it'd go into another one that's on here, which is like the camel clutch, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But no walking over them or stepping over them from that closed guard. Learn good technique, stand, pop the legs open, or feed them something so that they want to open their legs. All right, guys. The next one is neck cranks. And there's a bunch of variations on neck cranks. And look, if you're trying for a rear naked choke and you're moving the head and all that stuff and it just kind of happens to crank the neck, that's an accident, right? Like that's not something you're trying to do. A neck crank is usually a very, very purposeful action. And like a most common one is from the closed guard to come here and do what's called a can opener, where we're grabbing the back of the head and just pulling it in like this. Like avoid that stuff. And the main reason for it is that neck cranks have an unknown mechanism of injury. Meaning I don't know if it's going to rupture a disc, if it's going to break his neck, if it's going to just hurt. We don't know what's going to happen there. Whereas if you hyperextend an arm, we know that the elbow is going to get hyperextended at the elbow joint. Sure, some things might break, but like we don't want that to happen anyway. We shouldn't be hyperextending our training partners, but the point is it's not going to cause them to maybe die. right? Like that's the issue. Whereas a choke, he's going to pass out, you're going to let go, right? He's going to tap. He has time to tap. Things like this, the mechanism of injury, what is getting injured? Is it the spine? Is it the muscles? We have no clue, and we don't know how that's going to affect it anyway, which makes it, one, not a very good submission to begin with, right? Like if I was in a fight and I start doing that, maybe it hurts, and I'm like, I got him, and I get up, and he's just fine, and he just gets up and beats me up. Maybe I killed him. We don't know. So don't do neck cranks. There's a couple variations of that, but usually they look something like this, and they're intentional, and that's different than like when he has free motion, right? Like if I'm just here and I hold his head just to get by, I didn't crank his neck or anything. That's just a frame. So the intentional twisting and turning of the neck for the purpose of submitting someone, just stay away from that, guys. The next one is the muffler, the open hand smother. And this one's a restricted move, meaning that you can do it if you're training in competition class. Notice I said competition class, not open mat, not somebody else's class, competition class, in a session where you're getting ready for a tournament that allows it. Otherwise, it's just a dumb thing to do. It's kind of gross and disgusting, and on top of that, just not very elegant or technical. And that's just when I take my hand and go like this. Okay? This is commonly called the muffler or an open hand smother. Use mother's milk. It's a much better move. You know, we can get here, we can put him in our chest, and you know, you don't have this open hand grabbing your nose. There's no propensity like for fingers to accidentally slide into eyes or anything like that. It'll get you the same result. Plus, it's a lot better. And in a fight, no one's going to be like, and just start biting into your hand either. So it's restricted, not banned, but make sure you know if you're in a situation where you're allowed to be using it. The next one is the camel clutch. You can see Dustin has assumed the position. Camel clutch is, I'm going to again be gentle. It's kind of this idea that we get onto his back and then we just come here and we find a way to like start cranking his head back. It's a version of a neck crank for one, so that shouldn't be allowed. Plus it might end up over the nose, you know, it kind of can twist like this, but we're just back here just trying to hurt the spine. Don't do that to your training partners. You're going to blow out their lower back, you're going to hurt their neck. It's not worth it. And again, like with the rest of the neck cranks, very inefficient submission as well. We don't even know what's getting injured. So don't do that. The next one is knee reaping. Now this is more just a limited one or restricted, meaning there's certain times you can definitely do it. If you're in a no-gi class, a no-gi open mat, you can knee reap all day long. You can do it as long as you are a blue belt or above who knows the moves from there. Okay, but let's look at what knee reaping is. If Dustin, I'll just have you stand, Dustin. It's probably easier. So just give me this leg. It's anytime I have his foot blocked here, whether it's with a grip or just with my body like it is now, and I'm bringing my leg over and across his center line, putting inward knee pressure. Okay, so this, good to go. The minute I start driving him that way, it's a knee reap. Okay. Now he can obviously turn to alleviate pressure, and in no-gi that's really easy to do. The problem is in gi, the fabric tends to bind against each other, especially if you're really sweaty, and that can be a little harder to do. It can be a little harder to move him, so you tend to push with a lot more force. And then the give, if you can imagine this fabric's kind of bound, and then it just goes whoosh like that, like 5 inches of give. Your little cruciate ligaments in there are only so long, and it doesn't take much for them to accidentally snap. So in the gi, and that's with gi pants. Like just because you take your gi, like I'm still wearing a gi right now, right? I have gi pants on. So, but if you're both no gi, you should be fine to do this. The skin will just slide, and it's not really a problem. I'll show another variation on this that some people get wrong, and it's from the honey hole. Can we do the honey hole? Perfect. Look, if I'm in the honey hole right now, my leg is across his center line, but his leg has freedom of movement. If I control this leg, now I've reaped his knee because I'm driving and he has no way to relieve the pressure. I can hold this leg all day long. As long as I don't touch that one, I'm not reaping. Okay? Again, no gi, we can touch this, we can do heel hooks and everything else, which is going to take us to another move in just a moment. But that's a restricted move. Make sure that you're only doing it no gi. No gi meaning shorts, not pants. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Okay, guys, the next one is heel hooks. Heel hooks are, again, a restricted move. You're going to learn them at white belt, and you should know them. You should understand them, try to learn their defenses, all that stuff. It's an important part of the game. But I don't want you doing them unless you're a blue belt or above, mainly because I want you to have a good year, year and a half of training them and understanding them and feeling them before you start just trying to apply them to people or getting them applied to you. The likelihood of injury is a kind of high if you don't know what's going on, because people tend to try to spin out of these and hurt their own knee. So just understand what the heel hook is, make sure you're a blue belt or above and you can use it. Again though, just like with the knee reaping, it is only no gi. Don't do it in the gi, and it's really for the same reason. The fabric tends to get wet and it binds, and if a person is trying to make like a 4 millimeter adjustment and they accidentally, the gi gives at that moment, boom, and they make a 4 centimeter adjustment, now you don't have some ligament in your knee and you're gonna have to go through 9 months of repair of your knee, and that sucks. So that's why it's a restricted move. It's not banned by any means, but just restricted. Do it no gi, you'll be okay. All right, guys, the last training point I want to tell you is like just training gear. Just remember your uniform should be well kept. If they have tears and holes in them, don't wear them on the mat. That's a recipe for someone to like accidentally get their toes or fingers stuck in it somewhere weird. Remember, no elite brand. I don't support elite brand gis. If you want to know why, we can talk about it. There's a whole McDojo thing about it online, but no elite brand gis. No gi classes. Stop wearing freaking pants to no gi classes. That is probably the thing I hate to see the most. If you want to do no gi, that means that knee bars are legal, that means that reaping is legal, that means heel hooks are supposed to be legal, and people aren't allowed to do that to you if you're wearing pants. Stop wearing pants to no gi training. Shorts shouldn't have buttons or zippers or anything that can cut or the mat or anything like that. Protective gear. Some people like to wear headgear. Just make sure it doesn't have snaps or zippers or, again, like anything that can like cut the mat or cut your training partner. And it shouldn't be hard. It should be soft. Any training shirts should have sleeves. Don't go sleeveless on my mats, please. That's gross. And definitely don't go topless on my mats. You should be wearing a shirt underneath your gi as well. So we're just trying to limit the likelihood of staph infections and warts and impetigo and all kinds of other nasty things that can come from mat-based sports. So, make sure you're wearing shirts. Make sure you're wearing shirts with sleeves on them. We don't want your dripping armpits to go into somebody's face while you're training. All right, guys, that's all I got. I'll talk to you later.